Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, I be ready. Hey, hey, hey. From the island breeze to the big world wire. Market and on the mission. Yeah, we never retire. Oh, turn it up now. Dum, dum, dum. Sunrise over Cross Streets down near the morning, nice and clear. Mark it and touch the camera, say people come and hear. On the YouTube channel streaming truth straight through the flame. No fancy talk, just real talk, calling out the game. He say look how the system does press down on the poor, but we go stand up strong, we go open every door. From the fish market corner to the sell out and free market, and a vice for the people that easy legacy. Mark it on, fire in the wire, light it up, let it go higher. Rhythm pump like the heartbeat, truth burn like fire. From St. Lucia to the Virgin Isles Sea. Mark it on, standing up for you and me. We no bow, we no break, we no bend, we no hide. We fight for the people with the truth as we guide. Yeah, we sing it loud, let the whole world see. Freedom for the voice, and that's what ba 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 ba. Comment section, people talking every day. Some agree, some disagree, but they still find a way to keep it real, keep it grounded, never sell our soul. Even when the pressure try to take full control. He said watch out, the power like to twist up the truth, but we got the people who are stronger than the proof. Every upload like a spark in digital night, lighting up the mind so the future stay bright. Mark it down, fire in the wire, light it up, let it go higher. Rhythm up like the heartbeat, truth burn like fire. From St. Lucia to the Virgin Isles Sea. Mark it down, standing up for you and me. We no bow, we no break, we no bend, we no hide. We fight for the people with the truth as we guide. Yeah, we sing it loud, let the whole world see. Freedom for the voices. Up, ba 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 ba. Hands up now, let the rhythm roll. Feel the bass line deep in your soul. We come together, north, south, east, west. Only unity go past the test. Mark it on, fire in the wire. Light it up, let it go higher. Right the heartbeat, truth burn like fire. Mark it on, standing up for you and me. We no bow, we no break, we no bend, we no hide. We fight for the people with the truth as we guide. One love, one voice, one destiny. Yeah, we play. Ba 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 ba.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are back. What is up, what is going on? It's your boy Maki Dan, the historian, coming to you with another stream for the Democracy Briefing. Yes, it has been a while, good people. Y'all already see the title of the show. Well, before I even get into that, AC, my brother, how are you doing? How you doing? It's been a minute since we've been up here, been able to chop up the good news.
No, I'm doing great, bro. Just been working hard behind the scenes and stuff like that. But there's a lot of things in this political space that's concerning me these days, and it's not about the now. It's now for me. It's about leaving a democracy for my youngest daughter. Because this middle space, I'm almost ready to write it off. And that's pretty much it. That's how I'm feeling. I'm just concerned. You there, Marky? You having a little technical difficulty there, brother?
Yo, AC, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yo, AC, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
It's truly amazing. Like all day long. And these people, as soon as I jump on stream, they could have called me when the intro was running. As soon as was about to open my mouth, they want to call me. It's truly amazing. But anyway, we're gonna keep moving on. Great to see you, my brother. It's been a while. A lot of things have transpired in the world of politics. Before I get into uh, the tribute I want to give on this show, let me first shout out the people in the chat. My brother BVO Boxing, TD Sports, my Puerto Rican Chop Cheesy Bronx brother, and Vacay Bay. One of my big this guy BVO might still be in the field cut sugar cane. You're a racist, but salute to Vacay Bay, one of my number one supporters. But I want to get into firstly, I experienced a loss, unfortunately, about 2 weeks ago. It was the reason why I haven't been able to go live. Unfortunately, my mother has been going through it recently. The man up on screen that I have right there, his name is Michael A. Joseph, Esquire. This is an individual that I owe everything in my life to. I owe my parents meeting each other to this man. I owe my mother becoming a lawyer and then teaching me and beating education into me and leaving me all this generational wealth. I owe it all to this man on the screen, Michael A. Joseph Esquire. This individual was a lion of a human being. A lion. One of the greatest litigators we have ever had in the history of the United States Virgin Islands. And I'm going to just tell a little bit about his story. He was born on St. Croix to some Puerto Rican Tainos, and his father was, I believe, a black Trinidadian that immigrated to the Virgin Islands in the 40s or the 50s. Michael Joseph became a lawyer in the 80s. And the reason he became a lawyer was he had two brothers. One brother served in Vietnam, came back with PTSD, was hooked on drugs. And the other brother went to the States and became pantherized. He became a Black Panther. And he came back to the Virgin Islands with that Black Panther Marxist ideology, that extremist ideology. And his brother made the decision to get with three other individuals who are also Black Panthers. They drove to the golf course. I can't remember if it's Carabola Golf Course or if they called it Fountain Valley at the time. They went down there and they killed, I think, 14 people. They shot white people and they shot black workers alike. At the time that this happened, I believe this happened in 76, Michael Joseph was in Los Angeles at UCLA, I believe, studying to become a doctor. After his brother chooses to do this, he decides to drop everything and he studies to become a lawyer. And he spent his entire life trying to get his brother out of prison. And he even wrote a book about the Fountain Valley Massacre and the race tensions and relations that were happening on our island at the time when it did happen. It's a book called Fountain Valley. I recommend anybody to read it. While that incident was taking place, you also had the Munich Olympics massacre, the situation with the Palestinian extremists that kidnapped Israelis, and then they tried to get the Israelis back, and it ended up with 12 people dead over there in the Munich Olympics. Michael Joseph spent his entire life advocating for his brother to get a pardon. He finally got it in, I believe, 95 or 96. And 2 years later, his brother died of an overdose. Just utterly tragic, the entire situation. But I look at it as, if that did not happen, if his brother did not make the decision to do that awful crime. So many people would have been hurt because Michael Joseph would have not been in their life. Michael Joseph gave my mother a job. My mother came from Grenada in the 80s. This was at the time when Maurice Bishop and the Marxists took over the Grenadian government, and then Maurice Bishop was betrayed and assassinated by his cohorts. And my uncle Cletus St. Paul was also a Marxist revolutionary in Grenada at the time. And my mother she swam from Grenada to come to the United States Virgin Islands and was homeless on the streets at 18 years old. Michael Joseph got her a job. Or firstly, let me not even go there. My mother was walking the streets. I want you to understand this. 18 years old with nothing. Michael Joseph was driving by. This is a real story. Stopped the car and he said, "What's going on?" And he told her, "I'm not going to hurt you. Just tell me where you need to go." And he took her to a homeless shelter. And they still stayed in contact. Michael Joseph got my mother a job at the Hess refinery. And then years later, he brought her in to become his secretary. And then paid for her to go to the University of the Virgin Islands and get her bachelor's degree in business. And then he later paid for her, along with advocated for her to different groups to get scholarships to go to Texas Southern University so that she could become the attorney that she is today. And 30 years later, she is one of the best family court attorneys that the Virgin Islands has ever seen. My mother, Lydia L. Molinar, Esquire. I don't know where I would have been in my life if it was not for Michael Joseph. I really don't know. My mother could have got killed that night. Something terrible could have happened to her that traumatized her for her life. She maybe would have never met my father. Anything could have happened to my mother at that time in her life. And Michael Joseph, being the angel that he was, he didn't take advantage of her. He helped her. And I'm going to go even further in depth. There were, Michael Joseph, not only was he a guardian and a friend to my mother, Michael Joseph was a great friend to my great-grandmother, Jessica Tutine Molinar, wife of Halvard Molinar, my great-grandfather. And the two of them were best friends. And my great-grandmother would get on the radio anytime she would see something, and she would run her mouth to the high heavens. And there was a situation where some people who came here illegally from the Dominican Republic and Haiti and whatnot, they came to the Virgin Islands seeking a better life, but they, just like my mother, they had nowhere to go. So you had over 100 families staying in rundown, dilapidated apartments. And then some dude came and said, "I want that land. These people are squatters. They have no right to this. I want to buy this land so I can fix it up and make money and da 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 da." My mother got on the radio and raised high hell. And then she called Michael Joseph and said, Michael, they're going to put 100 families out on the street. Michael Joseph didn't ask for a retainer. He didn't ask for no money. He went straight down to the courthouse and he filed an injunction to get a temporary restraining order between the government and these families. And then with all of the pressure that my great-grandmother was putting on the government through the media, and then through the pressure that Michael Joseph was putting on the government in court, the government agreed to back off and said, "We're just going to leave it alone." That's 100 families. Hundreds of lives that would have been impacted and on the street if not for Michael A. Joseph. when government retirees were getting screwed out of millions of dollars in pension checks that they were not receiving, Michael Joseph raised high hell and got the government to settle with them for $10 million. This is the type of individual he just was. In the 90s, Michael Joseph he went and he told me the story. And he did it to me because I told him that I didn't believe in like a sky daddy. I didn't believe in like an afterlife and things like that. I'm not a very like religious individual like that. Michael Joseph, he told me a story about how back in the 90s he was a representative for the VI's bar association team that went to the excuse me, it was in the 80s, that went to the Soviet Union. He told me, beloved, just in his voice. He always used to call me beloved. He called everybody beloved. Beloved, you remind me of them godless fucking communists up there. Who the hell you think you is? Oh, you could be walking so, talking so proud. God is who raised you up in the morning. And he told me all type of stories about how over there he was explaining, U.S. legal jurisprudence to the Soviets. So he was a man well-traveled, had 12 children with 7 different women. So his seeds are well planted on the earth. I got to speak to his daughter, Ebony Joseph, yesterday. And she told me she's at peace with it. She's hurt, but she's at peace with it. And we're arranging his funeral right now. But I just wanted to come on here and honor Michael Joseph. A great man, a lion of a human being, and a friend to this community, and a friend to my family, a man who was a part of my genesis before I was even born. And so, to honor Michael Joseph, we are going to ring the 10 bells. Michael, we love you. We're going to miss you. I going to always love you, Michael. And we move on from there. AC, thank you for being up here, my brother. And thank you to everybody in the chat who I got to tell Michael Joseph's story to. Because he was a truly, truly great man.
Yeah, definitely. My condolences to the loss, man.
That's a great man. But we're going to move on to the topics of the show. I love you, Michael. Rest in peace. You will never be forgotten. You are an ancestor to me. So, but on top of this loss that we took, and it's like a bittersweet for me, AC, because literally, I knew the end was coming for Michael because he had a mass on his brain. So we knew the end was coming, and he wasn't very lucid. But another death happened in the political world, and that death was none other than Lindsey Graham. And we didn't get to talk about Lindsey, but there you see Lindsey with his best buddy, Charlie. They're enjoying their times in the warm, luxurious fires of the ninth circle of hell. Lindsey Graham, and this was just out of nowhere, AC, just passed away on us. For those of you who don't know who Lindsey Graham is probably the biggest warmonger we have had in the Senate or in Congress in the past decade to 2 decades. This man used to blush when he would talk about launching wars and killing people. And I'm going to play a couple clips of good old Lindsey.
We decided to end the war by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons. That was the right decision. Give Israel the bombs they need to end the war they can't afford to lose and work with them to minimize casualties. Well, can I say this? Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end their existential threat war? Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay. To Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
So that was Lindsey Graham essentially advocating for Israel to nuke Gaza. This is a man who celebrates and treats Palestinians like they're animals. And then it further goes on, AC, before I just let you comment and give your goodbye to Lindsey. This is Lindsey Graham. This is a piece of footage that was leaked after Lindsey Graham died, where essentially it proves that he was a minion of the Israeli government and Netanyahu.
Do you have it on speaker, Ryan?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. All right, connecting you now.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, baby, Lindsey.
Hey, Lindsey. How are you?
I'm just so impressed. Glad to be your friend.
I'm glad you are my friend.
I'm going to meet with the president this weekend. I'm going down to Doral. I'm going to try to get him to join with y'all in Lebanon to maybe fly some with you. Would you like that?
Yeah, I get that. I think you have a point, but I've been thinking about the other side of it for a second. We're concentrating right now on Iran. If we tell Hezbollah that we're going all the way, we threaten them, but if we actually do it, then they have no reason not to go all the way against us. And right now, that's not our interest. We can do it later.
Well, that's actually good counsel. I'll put it out there as an idea. We can always go back to it.
So if y'all didn't understand what was happening right there, Lindsey Graham, and this is after the Iran war started and Hezbollah fired on Israel in defense of their allies in Iran. Lindsey Graham tells Netanyahu, hey, Bibi, I'm gonna go talk to President Trump and my other friends, and I'm gonna go convince him to help you in Lebanon and bomb those no good Hajis. And Netanyahu has to tell him, whoa, bro. Let's focus on Iran. I mean, come on, Lebanon is its own thing, bro. Come on now, calm down. Netanyahu had to tell this man to chill out. This man never saw a war or a bombing campaign he didn't love. And quite frankly, that video proves to me Lindsey Graham was a traitor to his country. And I have no sympathy for this man. I'm not going to honor him. People saying, oh, have some respect. Where was his respect for all those dead Gazan children? Where was his respect for all those dead Iranian children? All those dead Venezuelan children? All those dead Lebanese children? Fuck Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is in hell. And if I knew where his grave was, I would go out there and take a leak on it. And a shit. Fuck Lindsey Graham. I want to say it one more time. Fuck Lindsey Graham. And on top of being a traitor to his country and an advocate for mass slaughter, Lindsey Graham was a closeted homosexual. And since his death, it's now one of his lovers, AC, came out and let it be known that the NDA is done because he's dead. And he said, just woke up and found out that Lindsey Graham is dead, LOL. Most of you know him as the homophobic senator from South Carolina. But to me, he will always be that man who paid a Twinkie pre-transition college student a fat stack of cash to do unspeakable things to him in a hotel room while he wore red lingerie. I ain't gonna read the rest. But just know NDAs die with the person that the NDA was associated with. So I expect more and more of these fudge packers, undercover fudge packers, to come out and let it be known. But AC, I want to give you your chance to wish Lindsey a goodbye, because we didn't get a chance. Go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna keep it real simple. Fuck you, rotten hell, motherfucker. That's it.
And that's all we're gonna say on that motherfucker right there.
Yep.
We gonna move on, AC. Fuck Lindsey Graham. I hope his family is suffering. I hope it hurt when he died. Fuck him. Moving on, AC, to the Iran war of it all. So Donald Trump, in recent weeks, decided to restart the Iran war. He decided that the negotiations were going too slow, which is like, it really just, it hurts my head that we have such a child in office. Negotiations aren't just a thing like, oh yeah, I want that, you want that, no, you don't get that, okay, we agree. It's not like that. It took Obama 2 years to negotiate the JCPOA. It took Trump 2 years to negotiate the USMCA, the Canada-Mexico trade agreement, in his first term. And this is a consistent thing we're seeing with Trump, where he'll make big ass promises, 100 deals in 100 days. I'll end the Ukraine war on my first day. I'll end the war in Gaza, and none of it gets done. And then he just moves on to some other crazy shit that we have no choice to focus on. So he decides to go back to bombing them. Now it's being reported that the U.S. has virtually used all of its long-range precision missiles during the Iran war, according to Reuters. And I'm going to read an excerpt from the Reuters article. It says, the U.S. Army has used up much of its global stockpile of highly accurate long-range missiles during its 5-month war with Iran, according to 3 people familiar with the data, raising concerns about the military's readiness for future conflicts. The missiles are principally the U.S.'s Army surface-to-surface weapons, known as Army Tactical Missile Systems. Further goes on to say virtually all of these weapons have been used, according to sources. This also adds on to, I sent you the article the other week, AC, where a Navy commander came out and let it be known that they are short on destroyers, and that they're going to have to choose between either defending Israel or defending the homeland because of this shortage, which is just, that's one of the craziest fucking statements I've ever heard from an Army command. Why would you have to choose between defending the United States and a foreign country? But anyways, on top of this, AC, on top of the shortage that we have in naval destroyers, as well as in now long-range missiles, it's now come out that Donald Trump put his foot up Pete Hegseth's ass at Camp David about this, because Pete Hegseth apparently was not keeping him appraised of this situation, and Trump got blindsided by this information that they were going through munition shortages. And I also want to put the point to anybody watching. These things are not just, oh, you hand over some money and then boom, like a week later you get missiles. No. These things take like 1 to 2 years to put together. On top of the fact, it's $1 million per missile. So if we want to have 1,000 missiles, that would cost $1 billion. The United States, being all the obligations we have around the world in Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, would at least need 50,000 missiles on hand and on ready, at the bare minimum. Okay? So it further goes on to say in this Washington Post article, it says, back at Camp David, as soon as Hegseth was confronted by Trump over the bare weapon stockpile, Hegseth defended himself and blamed his deputy Steven Feinberg for the shortages and for not ensuring Trump was fully appraised of the issue. Both people familiar said the exchange underscored Trump's increasing frustration with his defense secretary, who was one of the biggest early advocates for taking military action against Iran, convincing Trump it would be a quick, relatively easy win. Pete Hegseth should have been fired over a year ago when he leaked classified information in a Signal group chat, not only to a group of lawmakers and policymakers, he also leaked it to his wife and his lawyer. And now we're in this situation where, God forbid, China just decides we're gonna take Taiwan, or Russia decides, hey, fuck it, you know what? We're gonna march into Poland. We are now in a vulnerable situation because of the incompetence and the idiocy of Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. And anybody could have saw this coming. Like, that's my biggest thing, AC. It's like Pete Hegseth. For those of you who are not like that in touch with who Pete Hegseth is, imagine like you have like a comedy movie. I don't know if anybody's ever seen Harold and Kumar, where Harold and Kumar, they were like running, they were accused of being terrorists, and then you had this dude from the Pentagon who was just an absolute idiot. Like at every turn, he's just making up the most weird, wild shit. He's saying the North Koreans and Al Qaeda are getting together. We have to move now. We have to bomb now. That's Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth is the real life version of a caricature of a retarded Secretary of Defense. That's what this guy is. And now we're in a position where Iran, looking at this, and by the way, Iran has not even used up all of its escalation ladder. Iran still has forces in Somalia. They have forces in Iraq. They have forces not only that, Hezbollah has not been pushing the issue as of recently because of the ceasefire at that time. And this is the problem. Not only I'm not just gonna put it on Pete Hegseth, AC. This is a problem we see often with the U.S. military, where it's like that doctrine of shock and awe. We're gonna go hard from the start. We're gonna pound them. We're gonna go hard. We're gonna bomb. We're gonna kill. We're gonna destroy. We're gonna turn everything to rubble. And then when the enemy doesn't surrender, it's like, what do we do next? And then it goes back to the situation just like in Iraq and Afghanistan. The U.S. owned the skies above these countries, but they had no political or military force to control things on the ground, which is what led later on to the defeat in Afghanistan and the Taliban coming back to take over, which is what led to the U.S. pulling out of Iraq and then ISIS and different insurgency groups coming in and taking over. And instead, what we have here is probably even worse, because we haven't even conquered Iran. And we're already out of weapons. Now, as a result of being short on these missiles, they're going to have to fly missions over Iran using fighter pilots and bombers, which is far riskier. And we're going to potentially have more dead troops on our hands. But, AC, I'm going to come to you. I already know your opinion on this war. But nonetheless, I want to get your opinion on the level of stupidity and incompetence that we're dealing with when it comes to somebody like a Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump.
Well, this was the things that we were talking about early on when we first heard that Donald Trump was going to install this idiot in that place, because whenever he tried, going back to his first administration, to find even a war hawk type general, he would ask them to do things that they're like, look, I can't, no, the military can't do shit like that. So there was still pushback, even with some of his crazy first time around picks that were actually, you know, that have actual military experience and leadership experience. So what did Donald Trump do? He said, okay, him and Stephen Miller sat down together and said, okay, we need useful idiots. And who's a useful idiot for us? Hey, how about that guy on Fox News that keeps talking all of this crazy shit? Yeah, we could use him because he has the face and it's the popularity and what he'll say is, you know, what the American public will get behind. Okay, that shit will only work to a certain degree once we found out that this TV personality is a fucking drunk. So once we find out he's a drunk, then you know, for us who actually care about the country, we're like, wait a minute, we got a drunk leading the military? We got a drunk, youthful idiot who is a television star or news personality leading our military. Oh, we are so fucked. Now put it sometime later, those roosters have come home, you know what I'm saying, to just let people know, hey, listen, those Democrats over there tried to warn y'all, but y'all wouldn't listen. So at the end of the day, this is what you got to deal with. Now, you would look and first say, okay, if we're going to enter this, what's our stockpile? That's what a real strategic general would do, or a real strategic leader would do. Take inventory. Before me as a chef, before I want to serve 50 people, I have to know, can my space hold 50 people? I have to know, where can I get enough food to feed 50 people? That's all inventory. It's logistics. Logistics is the biggest part of the military. So being that you did know logistics just shows you don't know what you're doing. And at the end of the day, you were launching missiles like them shits are just like video game missiles. You just wait till it refreshes, the little thing comes around, it refreshes. Yeah, we got more missiles, so let them shits rip. This is not Call of Duty. This is not Call of Duty Mobile. This is not Call of Duty Modern Warfare. This is none of that. This is real fucking life. People are dying. So at the end of the day, you have an administration that doesn't want to take any accountability for its fuckery in the military. We have a military leader that doesn't want to take any responsibility and then is out here trying to proclaim, yeah, I only want the sexiest big body men. And it's like, bruh. You can't even do 25 push-ups. How are you so mannish all of a sudden? So that just lets you know the nature of this administration, because they're just a bunch of idiots that are just making this shit up as they go along. And that's the scary part, you know, because that shit just don't work out well for nobody.
And the next problem, AC, is one thing that, yes, in the United States of America and in any functioning democracy, the political leadership of a country should be the masters of the military. There's no discussions about that. However, there's a very clear and fine separation in the fact that when it comes to the overall strategy, the long-term strategy, yes, that should be handled by the political leadership. But when it comes to the on-the-ground tactics, that's something that's supposed to be ran by the commanders who have experience commanding these forces. And what we have here is Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are trying to trying to control not only the just like wonky, I don't even know what to call their strategy. It's not a strategy. It's just stupidity. Like, they have no strategy. They have no long-term objectives or goals in this war that can be achieved. But now they're getting involved in telling the military where they should bomb and what type of tactics they should use in order to get the outcomes that the political masters want. And that's how you end up with a situation like this. Going back, and what you said was very key there. Logistics. General Eisenhower. People look at General Eisenhower like he was this great battle commander who came to the European front and defeated the Nazis and was advising his generals and commanding them what to do and telling them about what tactics were best to apply. That's not at all who Eisenhower was. Eisenhower never saw battle. Not in World War I when he was an officer, and not in World War II, and not ever. He never saw a day of combat. What Eisenhower was famous for was in World War I was organizing tanks, logistics, and supplies, and was being a part of the effort that sent 2 million soldiers across the sea, fully supplied, fully fed, fully armed, and sent them straight into France. And then he did the same thing in Europe, in North Africa, setting up the invasion, setting up where the invasion would be taking place from, the launching pads in England. Then one of the things Eisenhower was famous for, he was able to get a cake baked in California, sent to Maryland, and then sent on to England, and then on to Germany in perfect condition. Because he was just that fucking guy. He was the best when it came to understanding what supplies he had, what resources he had, and how best effectively to apply it. We don't have that anymore. We don't have these type of people anymore. Instead, we have people like General Dan fucking Raising Cane, who is just an absolute idiot, who should have told Donald Trump directly to his face. He told Donald Trump that, yes, the Israelis, they sell big. But then he went on to tell Donald Trump, oh, but sir, we can't achieve these objectives, so we should bomb them. And now we're in this fucking situation. We have people like Admiral Brad Cooper. Go look him up. Probably one of the most decorated officers we have in the armed services. And he's a fucking dope. He's the one he was also one of them advising them to just east of the country with ballistic missiles. And now we're in this situation. So overall, all the way around, we have idiots, invalids. I tried to think of a third word, but I think idiots, invalids, I think that best sums it up. And then it's like, I mean, we can't even be surprised. Look at everybody else in the cabinet. Who's surprised by Pete Hegseth? We had Kristi Noem, who was probably even worse than Pete Hegseth. We have RFK Jr. Right now, AC, you probably noticed because you're a chef, AC, we have a diarrhea epidemic from lettuce that was getting passed around because of RFK Jr.'s stupidity.
Bro,
and his laxing of FDA rules.
Our food supply in this country is fucked. We have eggs, beef, chicken, lettuce. All four of those groups are under scrutiny and recalls right now. So it's like, okay, what are you going to eat if you can't trust the vegetables anymore? If you can't trust, your meat, you can't trust the beef you want to buy. We have a major holiday coming up.
Well, maybe the disease will make you stronger, AC. So maybe it's not so bad if you get the disease.
And the dude won't take responsibility. He's sitting there arguing points where the lady's just like,
Biden administration's fault that we weren't prepared for this instance.
It's Obama's fault. It's Obama's fault. I'm like, bro, shut the fuck up. Like, first of all, your voice is disgusting.
Number sound two, like a fucking squiggly line.
Exactly. Number two, it's like you have this weird way of thinking that you have this belief that precedes something that never existed. Well, in my day, we used to do, and food safety, it was just as strong, maybe even stronger. But now that we went into these whole saturated fats and preservatives and sulfites, that's why things have changed. But the food safety issue, I would say I'd rather go back to the 20s, 30s, and 40s and eat food all day than to eat any of this bullshit that we're eating in 2026, because it's not healthier. And that's where I landed on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not surprised at all we're in this situation. We are fucked as a country, but hey, it is what it is, AC. Well, I mean, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? But AC, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to the more wonkiness that's going on. And to the brother B3 Picks in the chat, B3, I respect you and your beliefs and your religion. I believe in the goodness of humanity. I also believe that humanity has evil within it, and Michael Joseph was a good man. If there is a God, I am very certain that he is with his God right now. Personally, I don't believe in a sky daddy. I believe in an intelligent creator, and that's a whole nother discussion that I don't want to get into, but I respect you and your belief system, brother. Yeah, and Michael Joseph respected my belief system as well. Even though he had his own great way of going about it, man. But that was a great man. But we're going to move on. AC, this is a story that came out, and this just so happens to come out a couple weeks after the whole Graham Plattner situation. So this gentleman right here, Representative Max Miller out of Ohio, a Republican, the stuff that he is being accused of and the stuff that has been leaked about this dude it's outrageous. And then further on, his ex-father-in-law, who's a senator, Bernie Moreno, also from Ohio, he's got some, well, firstly, let me just say, Max Miller, this gentleman who's running for re-election, he's being accused of being a domestic abuser. And he's being accused by 3 different women who know nothing about him, or excuse me, who don't know each other. The first woman was it was back in high school, where it claims that he was groping her. When she tried to tell him to stop, he then shoved her down a flight of steps. The second woman was his ex-girlfriend, who was a White House staffer at the time. She claims that he would hit her, he would choke her, that she would wake up scared for her life because nothing she did was good enough for him. And then you have his, I believe now ex-wife, who in court documents accused this man of putting a weapon to her head, burning her with boiling hot scalding water, and even taking away his daughter's favorite bunny toy that she uses to go to sleep. And it gets worse, AC. Like listen to me, AC. It gets worse. I don't know how, after those things I just said, I don't know how I could believe that I have even worse things to say about this dude. It got leaked. Apparently that him and his wife, through some type of court mandated Dropbox for co-parenting or whatever, they had like a Dropbox that they would put, personal things about their daughter in to give to the judge and whatnot. And the Dropbox got leaked from his congressional email. It has his congressional email on it. And in that Dropbox, AC, were naked pictures of his daughter, which essentially amounts to child sexual abuse material because it got leaked in that way. And over 240,000 people viewed those pictures before it got taken down. And then his attorney came out and took the fall for it. No, I don't believe that. I think that this is a vindictive, evil, disgusting individual. And then it further goes on, AC. Senator Bernie Moreno finally, after all these allegations, decided to come out and let it be known that, oh, my daughter lives in constant terror, which I don't doubt, and that I fear every night for my grandchild. But I found it really curious that he took all this time to finally come out and make a statement. And then we later find, and then I don't have the clip, AC, but Max Miller was on a CNN interview, essentially defending himself against these allegations. And he let it be known that Senator Bernie Moreno has some skeletons in his closet. And a lot of people believe it's concerning the fact that Senator Bernie Moreno is an undercover fudge packer. Because back in 2024, it got exposed that Bernie Moreno, back in 2008, he had a profile on a gay dating website that matched his date of birth, matched his email, as well as matched his home address at the time. And then, he came out and said, oh, it was a staffer, they were playing a joke. Nah, buddy. So if anything, this dude on the screen, Bernie Moreno, he's a fucking coward. This dude right here is a fucking coward and a punk and needs to resign. And I wanted to bring this up, AC, because this is something that really highlights the difference between Democrats and Republicans, and how we still have the moral high ground. Because when those allegations came out about Eric Swalwell, who was in the lead, to win the governorship of California, everybody disavowed him, said, get the F out of here. Nope, you cannot use our party's platform. Absolutely not. You need to resign and you need to drop out of the race. And they forced him out. When Graham Plattner had his allegations, same type of heavy-handedness. Get the F out of here. Donald Trump and the Republican Party have yet to withdraw their endorsements from this dude, Max Miller. And it's just another incident that highlights the difference between these two people. They will gladly let domestic abusers, sexual predators be a part of their party and hold power, real political power, to potentially end people's lives in countries across the sea, starve people who rely on SNAP benefits, strip people of their health care. They will put psychopaths like this in power any day of the week. So, AC, I'm gonna come to you. I want to get your reaction to this sentient piece of dog shit and the fact that the Republicans are still not forcing him to drop out.
Well, it just goes to show across the board. At the end of the day, people complain about. You can complain about whatever political party that you're against, but you then have to have that man in the mirror moment. Like, who is my party supporting, and how does that make me feel that my party is supporting someone like this? So with that being said, that's the morality issue. That's the morality issue that many other political groups can't really get on Democrats about, because the minute that Democrats see some information that can hurt the party, at times they may be rushed to act, and that will be the inevitable, what they complain about as the Democratic firing circle. They'll circle around you, and then everybody takes shots until you get the fuck up out the party. It's a good strategy, but sometimes it may backfire. For an example, I'm going to bring up Al Franklin and the Me Too movement. Yes, the circumstantial evidence looked bad, but when it came down to it, the shit that was being said about him was hyped up. That it didn't happen like that. So he was forced out of his seat and things like that, and he never got his seat back and was never even, put in a position to whereas, all right, I'm going to run again and the Democratic Party is going to back me because X, Y, and Z. Yeah, but it's going to be still a little bit too hard to try to explain to people, no, that was a mistake. No, this was that, and the reports. So they was just like, yeah, it's just not going to work out for you, Al. And that's unfortunate because I thought Al Franklin, he was a strong ally in votes. So with that being said, the Republicans won't do that. They just won't. They refuse to do that. When it came down to the other openly gay Republican guy that just couldn't stop lying about
George
everything.
Santos.
Yeah, George Santos. They doubled and tripled down on George Santos. They tried to prop him up, because they were like, well, regardless of anything, we still need that vote. And regardless of how you want to say it, that vote is more important to us than the optics of morality. So that's what it comes down to. The Republicans don't give a shit about morality. They stopped caring about that, I would say, after the Brooks Brothers incident. Because when it all came out that was a staged thing, no one ever condemned anybody.
Give me some context about the Brooks Brothers. I don't know that one.
Okay, so the Brooks Brothers thing was the situation that happened down in Florida. I'm brain farting on names right now, but you had the guy, the well-dressed Republican dude that Donald Trump gave a pardon to and stuff like that. I'll Google his name and come up with it a little bit later. But basically, they went into a voter counting spot and they saw someone with just a piece of paper in his hand. And he said, oh, look, they're trying to fudge the numbers. And they caused this riot at these poll counting places. And they called it the Brooks Brothers because all of these guys who were in, $1,000 and $2,000 suits or $5,000 suits bum rushed these voter tallying places and were saying, well, if you don't let us in and you don't do this, then we're going to riot and we're going to cause all of these riots and we're going to just completely disrupt the election. That was right before the Supreme Court said, okay, we got to move forward because if they go ahead and do that, it's really going to mess up the integrity of the election. So the Supreme Court voted, made their decision to back the Republican candidate, even though the Democratic candidate was actually ahead. So this is why that whole situation went down in history, and it'll go down in history. And after that situation, and that Supreme Court decision being led by Antonin Scalia, that showed to me and many other people, that showed us that Republicans have lost morality and integrity, because that was the absolute first time in modern history that we witnessed an election being stolen in real time, because the vote came down to Florida. Florida was going to decide who was the president, and that's the basic context of that. But I'm going to look up old boy's name and tell everybody his name so they can go ahead and research for themselves.
I would say that the Republicans stopped caring about morality. I want to say after John McCain, but no, I would say it was after Romney lost. And then, the Tea Party became ultra inflamed and they were doing their thing. But I remember the days of John McCain, where Fox News, Newt Gingrich, all those disgusting radio hosts who were calling Barack Obama a jihadist and saying he wasn't born in the United States and all this whole other crap. They were pumping that into the Republican voter base, and then the voters, and then one lady came up to John McCain during it was a town hall and said, we're terrified. This man is a terrorist. He's a jihadist, and he's a terrible person. And John McCain let it be known, no, 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 stop that stupid, silly shit. The Barack Obama is a good family man. We just have specific disagreements. That version of the Republican Party hasn't been around in almost close to 20 years now.
Yeah. So just to clear it up, the Brooks Brothers riot happened in November of November 22nd of 2000. It was led by Roger Stone. Now, if anybody's been following politics, at least since the Trump's first administration, go back and listen to Roger Stone. When Trump was talking about elections being stolen, guess who he brought in to be one of his election advisors? Mr. Roger Stone. And Roger Stone was talking that if it comes down to Florida in this election, he has no problem putting together another Brooks Brothers type riot. That was their game plan. That was their plan B or plan C. So to know who Roger Stone is, you'll pretty much understand everything that went on, and that whole statement and things like that led to Roger Stone being exposed, and then criminal charges being filed against him, and then Donald Trump being the feds coming to his house and raiding his house and arresting him and stuff like that. You saw Roger Stone in pajamas or shorts, whatever it was, in a t-shirt and stuff like that. Then the next day you see him with the $5,000 glasses and a suit and stuff like that. So yeah, Roger Stone is a very, very bad apple. So just keep that in mind.
And he's ugly, on top of being just a bad human being. Very ugly individual, on top of all of that. But that just seems to be the Republican archetype, to be a bloated, disgusting, Botox-ridden, plastic surgery-ridden, just shell of what appears to be a human being. But underneath that, you're actually the devil disguised as a human being. So, again, back to Max Miller. I'm not surprised by any of this stuff. We've heard word, not only from a Republican, but from a politician in general. I don't have too much faith in any of these people. And I'm not surprised that the Republican Party is taking this, I don't know if the word is nonchalant, but just
Sounds like.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, these people are just ridiculous with these phone calls now. But anyway, I'm not surprised by any of it. And Mr. Max Miller, just like Mr. Lindsey Graham and Charlie Kirk, you're gonna burn in hell one day for what you did to your daughter. Because she's gonna, and not only before the fires of hell catch you, if that place exists, before the fires of hell catch you, you're gonna have to reckon with the fact that your daughter is gonna live to one day see what you did. That you leaked that stuff of her. Especially when she's growing up as a young woman, a young teenager, and she's trying to, figure out her own things and where she fits in, and then some girl or bully finds nudes of her on the internet. And you're gonna have to live with the fact that you did that. And chances are he's probably not gonna care, because this dude is an absolute psychopath. Just from everything that I've read into this. But we're gonna move on, AC. We're gonna move on, and we're gonna leave Mr. Max Miller where he is. His day is gonna come. And we're gonna move on to some big news, some big results coming out of Michigan. After months and months of campaigning, it was announced last night that actually yesterday in the daytime actually, Abdul Said won the Democratic Senate primary. He will now be the Democratic candidate running for Michigan's open Senate seat, because that senator, I can't think of her name right now off the top of my head, but she's running for governor. So Mr. Abdul Said was facing off against Haley Stevens. Haley Stevens, she looks like a female version of the Hulk. Very ugly, very hard to look at broad. On top of the fact, she is a pro-Israel zealot. I want to play this video so you can get an idea of it.
I will continue to fight for the people of Israel. I will continue to fight for Israel's existence. Israel comes to me in my dreams. I see Israel's future, and I know that Israel will continue to exist for the Jewish people.
Israel comes to me in my dreams. Get the fuck out of here, bitch. Get out of here. And this is this is huge, AC. Not only, there's never been a Muslim senator in the history of the United States Senate. Ever. And Abdul Said has an opportunity to do that. But more to the point, this shows how energized the Arab community, the Muslim community is in Michigan. The Muslim community in Michigan is one of the largest in the country, if not the largest, right next to Minnesota and probably New York. In 2024, Michigan swung for Donald Trump by I think 1 point. And the reason that happened was the Muslim and Arab population and ethnicities in Michigan were not energized to come out and vote because of the Biden-Harris's policy towards Gaza and Israel. They're energized to vote now. And they're going to give us another Senate seat coming out of Michigan. And I see good things happening in 2028 as a result of this win in Michigan. Just touching on Abdul Said quickly. Personally, I like him. I don't like all of the people he associates with. I wish he would take a harder stance when it comes to separating himself from the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, and all of their wonkiness. I don't like that he campaigns with Hassan Piker. But at the same time, you just have to tip your hat, AC, because this man was outspent 10-1 by Haley Stevens. Okay? AIPAC and all these outside big corporate PACs spent $60 million to try and get Haley Stevens elected. Abdul Said raised, I believe, around $5 to $10 million in donations and funding for his campaign. And this was a sound defeat. And on the other side, you have a dude in Mike Rogers who is just an absolute idiot. Just typical Trump rubber stamp. He doesn't have a position on Iran, doesn't have a position on ICE, doesn't have a position on Trump's slush fund. Just an absolute empty suit, like all the rest of them. But I wanted to touch on this other part of it, in that while I like Abdul Said, and I like the fact that he makes it very clear that he's a capitalist, but he believes in, just like me, that certain industries need to be nationalized, particularly our healthcare industry. Okay, because in the United States we have the worst healthcare system in the entire industrial world. Of every high-income industrial country in the entire world, AC, the United States has the lowest life expectancy rate. And we pay the most for our healthcare over here. I agree with him on things like that. I agree with him in large part on his positions when it comes to Israel. However, I need some of these candidates to take a harder line when it comes to separating themselves from DSA policies. And for those of you who don't know who DSA is the they are the hardest left. They are the hardest hard of the left. They are the farthest reaches of the left. They believe in abolishing prisons, open borders. They believe in getting rid of the police and taking away the police's guns and then just replacing them with essentially mental health workers. Which, listen, I don't. If you want to fund training so that you could have, you know what I'm saying, specialized groups and departments and units within the police department to handle mental health cases, I don't have a problem with that at all whatsoever. I think that's a good use of money. But these people, they're so like just the stuff they advocate for is like they live in utopia, but we're not in utopia. Regardless of how I feel about some of the United States' foreign policy decisions, the reality is we have enemies. Okay, we have the cartel at our south border that's being funded by the Chinese, and then we have a whole host of other enemies in the Middle East, and we see that given the opportunity, what they will do. We saw that on 9/11. So no, I'm not for any of those wonky ass fucking policies, and then it hurts the rest of the party because these dummies, these DSA socialists, will get up there, and what they'll do is they will have somebody who's a moderate Democrat, somebody who agrees with them on 9 out of 10 things. We agree with stopping funding to Israel. We agree with nationalizing healthcare. We agree with green energy. But because of maybe a past stance they had on Gaza, or because maybe they believe in reorganizing the immigration system, or whatever the case may be, or maybe because they condemn Hamas, the DSA socialists will come out and drag them. And then they'll have these people like Crystal Ball and Breaking Points, which I mean, listen, I still like Breaking Points, but I see the pattern with these people. When it comes to a DSA socialist that comes on their platforms to do, interviews, it's relatively softball. They get nice, easy questions. They get to talk all their good shit about how the establishment isn't doing this and doing that, which I agree. The establishment has failed us in a lot of ways. And then when it comes to, I can't remember, I think his name was Representative Peters. He was just on there the other day, AC. He is somebody who, literally, he's the perfect moderate. He voted for the Massey Amendment. He believes in nationalizing healthcare. He believes in curbing Trump's corruption. All the stuff that you would want from a Democratic candidate. And Crystal Ball goes in there and just absolutely it's a hit piece. The man cannot do anything or say anything, and then she will not engage with him. She's just reading off talking points, talking about why should we be I'm trying to think of what was the specific one she was talking. I just watched it the other day. Well, let me move on from that. Let me go to Ro Khanna instead. We all know Ro Khanna, the man who teamed up with Thomas Massey to to expose the Epstein files. Ro Khanna, who, again, perfect representative, perfect moderate Democrat, does all the things, most of the things they want. But because he won't condemn Hamas, because he condemns Hamas, because he says that Israel has the right to kill Hamas, they will go on there and drag him and say that, oh, you don't believe in Palestinians' right to self-defense, and oh, you believe in the colonialist settler state. You're an Israeli. And then it's like this dude, Ro Khanna, was just in the West Bank the other week. It's like, what more do you want from him? This man got held up by Israeli settler terrorists, AC. So he was actually on the ground, put his life on the line, trying to advocate and tell Palestinian stories, and it's still not enough. And then you have even these more wonky fucking people like Francesca Hung, who, listen, you as a Native American AC, you probably agree with Francesca Hung on this, but I want to hear your opinion. But Francesca Hung, who is looking like the leading choice for the Democratic candidate for the gubernatorial race in Wisconsin, she had a post a couple years ago where she's advocating for just canceling Thanksgiving. Which, listen, me personally being somebody, I know the history of Thanksgiving. I think it is a shameful mark on the ancestors of this, on the white ancestors of this country, that they were starving and dying out in the cold, and the Native Americans up there in the Northeast said, we're gonna reach our hand out, we're gonna share our food with you, we're gonna teach you our agricultural techniques, and then a couple years later, they come back and they kill them all, and they take their land. We could tell that history and still have Thanksgiving, and still have that great, great holiday. That's just my opinion. But the problem, AC, is any normal person who hears that will think to themselves, this lady's a fucking whack job. Why would I, what are we talking about? Why is that even important? Why would you even discuss that? And the next problem is she won't answer direct questions. Let me play this clip of this broad.
You know, you talked about your past positions that he keeps highlighting and, you know, obviously likely would continue to do so before November should you win. One thing that they brought up as well was a post from you in 2021 where you said Americans should cancel Thanksgiving, should have done this in 1621. The post has been deleted. Republicans have been highlighting it. Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
I'm a chef, and one of the first meals that I made that was for the community when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal. You know, I always think my hospitality background in owning a restaurant for 7-8 years, that bringing folks around the table to share conversation and build community is always a good thing. But Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. And so I think I wanted to make sure that people understood that there are multiple views, but views can evolve. And the position that I'm running for right now, and I think my background as a chef, will actually help me become a better governor that's able to bring more people to the table.
Francesca Hong.
That was one of the greatest politician answers I've ever heard. Like, she didn't even answer the fucking question. That's another problem I have with these people. They'll come out with these wonky ass positions, and then when you ask them or you try to press them on it, they won't just answer the question. Do you believe in open borders? Oh, well, the United States' foreign policy. Do you believe in canceling Thanksgiving? Well, I was a chef, and, you know, back in the days, I used to love having great conversations at the table. Just answer the fucking question. And if you believe that, defend it. And then the next problem I have, on top of, like, these people know that on their own, they cannot win. They cannot win. At all whatsoever, they cannot win. And they even acknowledge that they cannot win. And my greatest fear, AC, my greatest fear is that we are currently looking at a left-wing, far left-wing version of MAGA. And this stuff is going to drag down the Democratic Party in the future. And it's going to lead to somebody like a Byron Donalds or a James Fishback or what's his name? Josh Hawley. One of those just crazy sycophantic people. It's going to lead to one of them getting elected. So I think that, listen, I was one of the people, and AC can tell you, me and AC have had many nights where we went back and forth offline where we were just going at it because I don't like the establishment. I think the establishment, personally, me, I think the establishment is the reason why Donald Trump has had 2 terms. The establishment gave us Hillary Clinton, and that broad lost. It gave us Kamala Harris. Well, actually, firstly, it didn't force Joe Biden to step down earlier, so that if they wanted to do a Kamala Harris, or if they wanted to run a primary, they could have done that. But I think in many ways, the establishment has failed us on Gaza, on healthcare, on many different, just on many different things. However, these fucking people, they are a train wreck waiting to happen. They are an absolute train wreck waiting to happen. And I'm not going to sit by and just support it. I am going to call out, I'm going to support the people who advocate for things that I like, but I'm also going to be very honest in calling out their policy positions. Okay? I like a lot of what Mamdani says, but the shit that he's doing with the rent freezing, it's stupid. And it might lead to a recession up there in New York when it comes to landlords just fleeing because they can't do it anymore, because they can't keep up with the costs. On top of a whole host of other issues, I don't agree with Mamdani on, like government ran grocery stores. But I see, I'm gonna come to you. I already know. I already know. This guy AC is about to go in. He's about to launch on Bernie Sanders. I already know. Which it is what it is. Bro, Bernie deserves his share of the blame for creating this monster. Go ahead.
But I'm gonna leave Bernie out of it. I'm gonna leave Bernie out of it because
okay, good.
At the end of the day, only thing I have to say about it is, if a person spends 30 or 40 years in government, and you're talking about low-level government coming from Vermont all the way up to being elected as a House in the House of Representatives and then being elected in the Senate, you are the very definition of the establishment when it comes down to the political space. So your entire life and existence have been in a political space. So with that being said, that's just where I'm going to leave it. Now, what you inspired in your two failed runs is something that we need to be looking at, and that's the thing we need to be focusing on, because when they figured out running as an independent is not going to work. That's the same thing that happened with the Tea Party. The Tea Party had independent people who were running who just couldn't get out of the primary. You would win in the primary, and the primary is just a snapshot of a sector of your political group. Most people actually sit out the primary. It's just your diehard voters that actually go out and vote in the primary, because these are the people that feel, okay, if we can win in a primary, then we have a chance to shape, the policy once these people get elected. But what's being forgotten is that the primary is the stomping ground for all the weird shit. You can be as weird and say some of the craziest shit that you want in the primary as long as people like it. You can get out there and say, you know what? Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck this, fuck that. And be, oh, yeah, he's coming out and saying F this and F that. Okay, that's cool. But what are your policies and how do they stand once we get into the general? When we're talking about what's good for all of the country. And your votes will be based on what's good for all of the country. You will do what you need to do at the local level, but there's also the federal level. And that's where some of these candidates, and we have to look at, okay, Marky brought up a situation where he was talking about a Democrat, the Democrat lady who was sponsored by AIPAC and things like that. And
who dreams of Israel. Who dreams of Israel. Don't forget that part. Yeah.
Here's where I've been residing in some of that. Okay, if I'm spending X amount of money on this, and traditionally this has worked here, you're claiming you spent less money but got more of a vote than me. So then it comes down to messaging. What was your actual message? And then when I listen to these candidates' actual message, something tells me that okay, what you're trying to tell me, the money that was spent against you, okay, that's fine. What was the amount of money to get you elected? Because you don't have to disclose it to the public. You just have to disclose that shit to campaign finances. And that doesn't come out till each quarter or whatever the case may be. We don't sometimes find that out in real time. So the point I've been making is, how are you raising all of this money and who is paying into it? And these were the things I've been researching when it comes down to the DSA. Now, there's two forms of the DSA. When you Google it, you're going to see the Democratic Socialist Agenda, and that's the shit AOC is down with. Bernie Sanders, Mamdani.
No. AC, did you see the DSA? One of their members came out and said that AOC said that she didn't want to be here for 40 years. And now look at her. She's a part of the establishment too. Look at how so they're even attacking one of their own.
Oh, they've been doing that, because look at what's going on online between David Pakman and some of the other progressive channels. If they're not progressive enough, they're attacking them. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is,
they have to be Republicans. They just have to be Republicans. I just have to believe that they're Republicans disguised as leftists.
You have the DSA, that's the Democratic Socialist Agenda, and then you have the Democratic Socialists of America. Now, here's the crazy part. The Democratic Socialists of America, that's not a 501c3. That's not like AIPAC, and that's not like the Democratic Socialist Agenda. But when you read their mission statement, they keep talking about these political things, and that had me asking, okay, I'm putting together a 501c3. Even though they say they're also a 501c4, any of those C type of companies, you just can't get involved in politics. But the 527 that's under the, and this is a bit wonky, the 527 that the Democratic Socialists of America are under, in their own description, they say we're a political action committee. Well, what is a PAC? A political action committee. So when you Google it, okay, who are the DSA? You're gonna get, depending on how you ask the question, more than likely, the Democratic Socialist Agenda is going to come up, and on the little sidebar, you're going to see stuff about the DSA and other socialist groups. But the DSA itself, as the Democratic Socialists of America, when you put in a donation, that donation is actually going to a PAC, and that PAC doesn't have to reveal all of its sources. This is why Bernie Sanders got in trouble for his campaign finance donations, because, hey, listen, if a couple of corporations like Apple or somebody else puts money in, you can't say you don't know who's there. If they send you the check, it's like, okay, you can reject the check and mail a check back. But if you keep that check and you say, well, let's keep that one off, well, I'm going to get in trouble with that. And I can say, well, it was just a staffer who forgot to log that in. But yeah, it's this and that. So you're finding ways to be extremely creative. And within this DSA movement, you have to understand some of the people who are behind it. Hassan Piker, do you know who's he's the nephew of? He's the nephew of Cenk or Cenk, whatever the hell that dude, whatever the hell that dude's name is. Now imagine growing up in that house, and this dude is always talking to you, grooming you, showing you why you should hate the Democrats. Now here's the crazy part. I said before, I can get down with some of these socialist things because we have socialism here already in America. Public schools, emergency room, police department, fire department. You know what I'm saying? Medicaid, Medicare, those are all socialist programs. But what I can't get down with is, okay, here's the thing. Anyone who's talking about AIPAC is horrible, here's the actual truth of it. AIPAC existed before I was born, more than likely your parents being born, and anyone that you know was born. The group came about and came in as an American company, as an American 501c3 that has to report to our federal government. They've been at this since 1948. So since 1948, they've been relatively, unknown, A lot of people support them. A lot of people supported their causes over the years and stuff like that. Help Israel economy grow and help strengthen the Israeli military to where they have they're one of the top 3 snipers in all of the world.
Yeah, AIPAC. Well, firstly, when Israel got their partition plan from the UN in '48, there was a hard arms embargo from the United States as well as from the NATO allies. And Harry Truman made it known that he did not, while he supported the idea of a Jewish state, he did not support the expansionist aims of Israel.
Yeah.
And they put a hard embargo on them, and they had to get weapons from the Soviet Union.
Exactly.
AIPAC, the very next year in '49, used whatever influence they had, probably through the Jewish bank owners and whatnot. That George Bush, that Prescott Bush class and whatnot. They convinced them to pull that shit, and they started funding them from '49 onwards. And then France got them nuclear weapons and fighter jets and whatnot, and we're here, and we are where we're at today with all that great stuff.
Exactly. So it was a world effort because they needed someone to police the Middle East. We tried to do regime changes and think the Arabs will basically police themselves, and it never worked out. It never ever worked out. So they said, okay, we need someone else. So we got Israel, this group of nomads. They don't have a home country. Okay, let's help them, in certain ways. We'll support you, but we're not giving you money just yet. And the rest of the world gave them money. UK and France was the first to give Israel money.
Yeah.
So with that being said, where we are right now as far as the political group, and understanding that, okay, on one side of the coin, you have a right to criticize whatever, but slow some of the criticism down to where you don't sound like you're being anti-Semitic, where you don't sound like you're going to lose the entire Jewish vote. Because this country has a lot of Jewish people, whether they're Orthodox Jews who are able to vote, or just, regular Jews who just follow the Sabbath or whatever, or close to the Sabbath, or whatever the
Orthodox Jews, they hate Israel. They hate AIPAC.
The ones here in New York, they have no love. Like, you can't even get a kosher certificate. Like, you can't get your kosher certification, but you are told you cannot order any produce from Israel. Period. It's just not going to happen. This is why New York doesn't have a Michelin star kosher restaurant, but Florida does, because the rules are different. So with that being said, I get where that one lady was talking about. She's a chef, because the chef's ideology is, you tell me what you eat and I'll tell you who you are. We're not supposed to see, different skin colors. We just understand you and respect you from your cuisine. And if we look at everybody from there, then yeah, I can look at everybody as equal, the way we're intended to see people. But if you're going to adopt certain ideologies that contradict who you are as a chef, I personally don't think that Thanksgiving should be ended. What I think should happen is the truth be spoken about Thanksgiving. The same way we deal with slavery, in the same way, we have the pockets of people who deal with Kwanzaa and deal with Juneteenth and deal with, other massacres that happened of African American people. It doesn't take away from the holiday. It strengthens the holiday and let everyone know the real history. Now, if you want to remove the holiday, then that means you're telling me you're willing to sacrifice part of history so people can really understand how indigenous people got on reservations. Because there wasn't, you didn't just form this country and then reservations are actually there. Reservations were death sentences for many tribes. Like I said in the past, my tribe was well above 50,000 on this small little island that we call Brooklyn. 50,000 of us. Now it's only 1,400 because of the reservations. because of laws, because my tribe didn't get federally recognized until 2010. Think about how many years this country's been here, and my tribe helped in the Canadian War. We helped in the Boston Tea Party. We helped in freeing slaves and dealing with Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. It ran through my tribe. She wrote about my tribe in her diary. But yet it's still with that level of American history, it still took us until 2010. And at 2010, we were only 800. Thank God people started having sex and having more babies. And then registering those babies and getting their tribal IDs. And that's not even half of what it used to be. We're still half of what it was in 2010. That is crazy. So you got to understand how the American policy, and sometimes when I look at socialism, and this is where I'm going to land it, because yeah, you got crazy policies, but I've been asking people who are so heavy within this new socialist space is this: in a socialist government where socialists came from, if this country was founded in socialism, where would the indigenous people be? Because socialism doesn't come from countries that have indigenous people. You're just dealing with your persons. Denmark, what indigenous tribe is in Denmark or Sweden or Copenhagen or any of those
Scandinavians.
Scandinavians. Where are indigenous people at? So if that ideology, where the government is first and it's supposed to be for the people, how would they have dealt with the indigenous population? And that's
They probably would have dealt with them the same way Israel is dealing with the indigenous population of Palestine right now. Because Israel has socialism. They have free healthcare, they have free schooling, they have all that great stuff.
And look at what's
and they're
happening.
just as brutal in trying to remove them from their land.
But we're talking about a genocide, and look at what it is. So if you put them over there in those little death camps that the Palestinians are calling death camps, and you tell them, you cross this line, we will shoot you. That's the very same attitude that the reservations were first predicated on.
Exactly.
So what is different? And this is the part where I'm trying to say to people, this is why me personally, it would be against my blood to support that type of heavy-handed socialism. Because even within the little bit of socialism this country has, I recognize the racism that's always been there. And that's where I don't want to get on and attack people and stuff like that, because then people are going to think that, oh, no, you're just mad at the situation. No, I'm not mad at the situation. I'm asking you, what are your policies? I don't care about the hyperbole. I don't care about, the populism. What exactly are your policies? So you're going to tell me you're going to look to deal with Israel. All right, after that, what's next? You're going to tell me about free healthcare. Okay, after that, how do you pay for it? And number two, what happens to all the people who already have that free healthcare that are in the safety net? What medical plan are you going to put together? Because you keep running on it, but no one has put forth a actual plan that says, okay, this is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Not even going back to when Bernie Sanders ran in 2016. He talked about universal health care, and then when they were asked, how do you plan to pay for it, and what are the details of this universal health care? You know the answer? Well, Scandinavia and this country we're the only country that doesn't have, and Scandinavia has, and we need to put our health care more like. That's not a fucking plan. That's the same fucking thing Donald Trump has been doing. By telling everybody, if we vote it down, we got a new plan in 2 weeks. But go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, I was just saying it's the weave. Go ahead, it's the weave.
Yeah, so the point I'm saying is this. You keep telling me about this unicorn called universal health care, but nobody's ever seen it. Nobody doesn't know what it looks like, what color it is. You know what I'm saying? They can't tell me anything about it, but then when I press you on it, you're going to tell me about every other country who has a universal type healthcare, but we don't. Okay, so if you're going to implement it here, what is your plan? Because this is what you've been running on since 2016, and y'all still ain't got a plan together? Bruh, stop trying to sell me on that bullshit, because it's not going to happen. And for Ma'am Donnie talk about, yeah, we finally got universal pre-K. How the fuck is something universal when it's only 2,000 seats? And at the end of the day, it's 2K. So you're saying for 2-year-olds. The question from the critics is, okay, New York has over 510,000 kids that are 5 and under, and that's based on the last census. The last census that was taken a couple of years back. Every day a child is born, and every day a child who is 1 is turning 2. So if everyone has to fill out a list or fill out these applications, when is the yearly thing that's going to happen of where these kids who are supposed to be eligible, where do they get their date? And if they're past 2 years old, what happens then? And I wanted to ask Ma'am Donnie and anybody who put that together, do you have a 2-year-old? Do you know what a classroom or a group of 2-year-olds is like? Bro, I'd rather herd cats. And at the end of the day, I had 3 2-year-olds. And I know what it was like. And if you're talking about a play education type structure, well, most parents do that anyway. And the 2K money, go back and listen to what Katie Porter broke down. As she broke down in her takedown of I forgot who it was, but she questioned somebody on child health care, and they had a hearing on child health care, and the dude had no understanding of child health care, but you want to sit there and pass bills and talk like you're an expert, and the dude didn't even have children. A 40-year-old man didn't have children. He wants to sit there and talk to Katie Porter about children. And she's like, I look this way because I'm a real single mother. Do you know how much I spend for my 2-year-old? And back then she had a 2-year-old when they were first talking about this 2K stuff. And she was like, it's just not going to cover it. And now here we go. Someone's trying to popularize something that New Yorkers are not asking for. New Yorkers are not asking for, universal 2K. Who the fuck asked for that? Besides some rich person that just needs to dump their child off while they're at work and
but hold on, you wouldn't agree. But you wouldn't agree, like, let's say you're a single, you have, like, how many single, like, you probably have a decent population of single mothers in New York who might just need to get ahead, and they have a 1 or a 2-year-old, and it might affect them or cause them to not be able to get certain job opportunities. You don't think that would help, at least for the first 2 years of their life before, you send them on to K3 and K4 and K5 when they turn 3?
No,
and all that great stuff.
No, because you go to any NYCHA housing facility, and anyone from New York can verify this. Any city-owned building, NYCHA building, HUD building, guess what they have as part of the building, as part of the structure? You have to have a community facility. Most of those community facilities are daycare centers that are from 1 to 2 years old, all the way up to 5 years old. So they are offering at the lowest scale, low level. There's a 2K school on 99 Hudson, around 99 Hudson, that it's what is it? Almost $10,000 or $20,000 a month. It's a private joint for all of these wealthy people. It's right across the street from a bar that's called 99 Hudson. It's one of the most upscale and expensive sports bars here in the city. I know that because I was the executive chef there. And I used to see all of these, limos and Bentleys pull up, and these kids get out of the Range Rovers with the super expensive baby seats, and they go into this beautiful looking building, beautiful old school looking building. And one day I just walked in there, and the first floor is all glass fronted. So I said, what is this place? I always see women with kids or men with kids coming in. What is this, a daycare? She was like, yes. We're privately owned and privately funded. So I was like, can I have information on it? And I just took the information because I was thinking about putting my son there. And when I looked at the price, I was like, oh my God. But then I come to find out that between NYCHA and certain HUD buildings, this is what's already available. You can get a tax credit off of this. The crazy part was when they voted down, when AOC and the squad members voted down that extension that Joe Biden was trying to put in there, as far as extending the child tax credit, guess what else was there? Paying for women in that same position so they can continue to get that credit and those vouchers so they can send their kids to these 2K programs. It was deaded because of the same people that people are like, the progressives had a right to do it because Joe Biden's policy had all of this meat, and they weren't going hard enough after the beef industry. So you ruin all of these single mothers' chances to make to keep a little bit more money in their pocket in the form of affordability. You voted that down. That bill failed. And at the end of the day, now you're going to try to run on that same thing? See, the problem is some people got a memory. Some people are just not living politics day by day, second by second. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. It's weird, bro. And I'm gonna tell you this right now. The fear you spoke about later, and this is where I landed, that fear you spoke about later, to whereas me and you just had this mini conversation of just the media spotlighting the two extremes, and everybody that's in the middle, whether you're moderate Republicans who are looking for a way out of MAGA, or you're a moderate Democrat looking for a way out to try to say, listen, Democrats and this Democrat Party, we cannot afford to go in that direction. Because if we go in that direction, we will definitely run into our own form of fascism and or a dictator who will justify their actions because they're saying it's progressive and it's socialist. Socialism has always been the first step or the main leading step to fascism and dictatorship. Every socialist country has faced it over and over and over again. They go through the cycle, then the government falls, and then they go back, they figure out a new way to implement socialism. Some countries have had success and hasn't gone down that route because guess what they did? They implemented capitalism and a capitalist democracy to help balance out the socialist agenda. But here, we're looking at young people who don't really understand and have no history to fall back on. They're just going by the moderate talking points, the moderate, I'm not talking about moderate Democrats talking points. I'm
They're
just
going
saying
off
the moderate as
the
the media. You feel, and they're generating a lot of false information and a lot of false facts to get young people to vote for. They're telling you we don't do this, we have no PACs, we don't do this. Yeah, but the crazy part is you found sneaky ways to not disclose that. And then you're hiding behind these names, and at the end of the day, you got the dark money. You're doing the same thing as Republicans. You got dark money, and here's the problem. Democrats are being attacked from within our own party, from Republicans and MAGA. And there's no one else who can fight for our democracy except people who are going to vote true blue. Now, if there's these 38 seats that will run across this country in this primary, at the end of the day, if those seats are we're talking about taking back the House and the Senate, when you listen to some of these nutcases, it's not going to go the way we think. Because that crazy Republican, he can sell his shit in the Midwest. This crazy progressive who just beat out a what they call an establishment Democrat, you're not. Because in the Midwest, they're not going to buy, we need to abolish jails and remove the border. You're going to tell everybody, see, Donald Trump was right about this, right about the Democratic Party. He was absolutely right, because look at their candidates.
My biggest thing though, AC, is it's the healthcare of it all, and I agree. It does concern me that whenever you try to press these people about their plan for universal healthcare, it's just talking points. It's just every other country, we have the worst outcomes in the world. We pay the most. I mean, listen. If you're an intelligent person, if you care enough to do research and look at other people's system, me personally, I think we need to adopt China's system and the way how China gets things done over there. Okay, they have two schemes. They have one that's for employees. That's the basic medical insurance, where the employees, they pay a piece of their salary in the premiums, which is pretty low annually, and then employers, they pay about like 2% towards that, and then it's also funded by heavy government subsidies. And then you have the urban I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's specifically, it's for elderly people, children, students, and for people that are unemployed. And it's an entirely voluntary system, by the way. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not something where it's necessarily forced on you. But if you go to an emergency room, God forbid your leg gets fucking blown off, or you have a brain tumor, that immediately kicks in. And that's covered by small premiums. I looked at the numbers the other day. Literally, it's $80 a year. And then it's also heavily funded by government subsidies. One third of it is the small premiums, and then 2/3 of it, the rest of it, is funded by China's government subsidies. I think we could adapt a system like that. The ACA is not adequate enough. Okay, what the ACA does is it helps you pay for private insurance. Okay, it makes it easier to pay for private insurance, but it's not enough, because now what happens is the people that are insuring you is not going to be the government, which at all times the government is always gonna be standing unless a fucking nuke hits Washington or we get invaded or some crazy shit like that happens. But the private insurance companies, they gotta make their bottom line. So if the price of different things is going up, like different medications and whatnot, or what you see right now, you have a lot of different schemes, AC, with autistic children. And I know, because I have an autistic child. I just came from the Coral Reef Academy with him. These people are taking $1,500 a month for an 8-month school year. $25,000 a year. That's $100,000 for 4 years. If I had kept them over, I got them in a public school now. Okay, they got a good special ed program with nice people, and they got them walled off from all the other hooligans. Okay, but and the point I was making right there, insurance companies and the people that are providing the healthcare and the services, they understand the game, and they could charge pretty much whatever they want, and they could continue to jack up the price every single year. You have people, AC, that are getting defrauded, and having to pay $900,000 a year. I read this ProPublica article that it was exposing this fraud scheme. Which, by the way, it's a legal fraud scheme. It's a legal fraud scheme because they're providing services. And in a free open market, you have the right to charge whatever you want for your service. And so all of them get into a big cohort together and they say, hey, we're all going to get on one page and we're all going to jack up the prices together. So that now we have kind of like what you see in any other market, but let's go to sports for a second. Kind of like what you see in the NFL with the quarterback market. Every single year, somebody is setting the market at a higher price. And that's all it is in healthcare and with the ACA model. I don't think it's adequate. Me personally, I don't think it's adequate. I think these other countries clearly, head, shoulders above us have better healthcare, health insurance systems and healthcare systems, and they have better outcomes. AC, when you look at China, right now they're by the year 2030, the trajectory that they're on, their the life expectancy rate in China is going to be at 80 years old. So for the first time in history, since the third industrial revolution, China will be surpassing the United States in healthcare outcomes. Like, no, bro, we can't let that stand. We have to adapt. Okay? The free market system for health insurance in this country is a failure. It is a failure. And the way how we fund our military, okay, they're talking about giving them $1.5 trillion. They're talking about giving them $1.5 trillion because of all these threats that we create around the world. Meanwhile, when it comes to foreign countries, less than one U.S. citizen gets killed a year by foreign adversaries. We have almost 200,000 people a year that die because either these private insurance companies who have all the bargaining power. I mean, if you're a dying fucking if you have a tumor in your brain, AC, what bargaining power do you have? You have none. So they could just say, nah, fuck you, we're not doing that, we're not covering that. And then you have the people who don't have health insurance who are screwed. So think about, in the past 5 years, we've had 1 million people die because of the current health insurance model. Something about that has to change. And I do agree with you. I am not satisfied with the answers I hear to the questions about how we are going to get there from these people. And it leads me to, it makes me scared that it's just another weave. It's just another talk, like what Trump liked to do. We talk a good game. We're gonna have Mexico pay for the wall. Like, I'm terrified that's what people like Ro Khanna are selling to us. But nonetheless, the DSA people, I pray and hope that the people of my generation, Gen Z, that we wake up by the time 2028 comes around and we don't elect somebody that's a fucking lunatic who advocates for just the craziest shit. Either which way, AC, we're gonna move on to the final topic of the show. I'm not a communist, Jay Gibson. Are you kidding me? I'm a capitalist as capitalist. Well, not as capitalist gets, but I'm a capitalist. I have generational wealth based on land ownership. So I am not a communist. Don't get that. When the communists take over, I'm the first one that they're gonna come for. They're gonna seize my land. But no, like, I'm not a communist at all whatsoever. I'm trying to get to this bread. Don't ever mistake that. I just believe certain key industries need to be nationalized for the welfare of the American people, like healthcare, and then like the oil industry, the energy industry. That definitely needs to be nationalized. It definitely needs to be taken out of the hands of private enterprise. But either which way, that's my Safar says that more illegal immigrants will help our healthcare. It will, in the fact that more illegals mean more tax dollars. In that sense, Safar player, because illegals provide a tax surplus versus how much they take in terms of benefits. So yes, it will help. But we're gonna move on, AC, to the final topic of the show. Yeah, that bitch ass nigga, Dr. Fauci. I never liked him. I always thought he was a hoe. I always thought that he was an establishment talking mouthpiece. I mean, firstly, Donald Trump is the one that appointed him. So that should tell you all you need to fucking know from the beginning. And then we find out all these text messages from Dr. Fauci, AC, and Jay Gibb, where Fauci is literally blowing himself, talking about how he's a superstar while people are dying, and then he's coordinating with people who are supporting BLM protests, and you're telling people, which listen, the shutdowns, I think at the time, you know, we could talk all this shit in hindsight about how it was terrible, you know, and we went too far with the shutdown, but listen, we didn't know what the hell COVID was at the time. But what I didn't like from Fauci is he would put out advisories saying people cannot go to work, but and let businesses go under. But at the same time, well, businesses who couldn't get PPP loans, but at the same time, he would be an advocate for people to go outside and protest, which again, I didn't have a problem because I supported the BLM protests for what happened to George Floyd, and I wanted, you know, a change in the way how policing was done in this country. But this dude is just an absolute fucking fraud. And Jay Gibb, yeah, they just voted in the Senate to hold him in contempt of Congress. Because when you get a pardon, you no longer have the privilege of the Fifth Amendment to say, I'm not going to discuss this matter. No, you have been pardoned. Therefore, you no longer have the potential of criminal prosecution or incriminating yourself. You're not going to be any criminal prosecution. You've been pardoned. So yeah, I mean, Fauci is going to get his comeuppance. He's going to get his just desserts. It's probably going to be a fine and a couple months in jail. Good riddance. He deserves it. Yeah, Rand Paul, listen, I like Rand Paul on a lot of different things. I think Rand Paul doesn't go hard enough, but Rand Paul, I can say, is one of the few principled Republicans. But anyways, we're going to move on. AC and Jay Gibb and Sir Player, if you're still in chat, to the final topic of the show. For those of you who don't know this broad right here, this Botox-infested broad, this is Jeanine Pirro. And I wish I could have got some of her clips from back when she was working at Fox News, the way how she would just be so sycophantic in her support for Republicans and Donald Trump. Donald Trump made the decision to make her the district attorney for the District of Columbia. And listen, whatever I might think about Jeanine Pirro, from her background and everything I've heard from even Democratic people and people on the left, she was a real deal prosecutor back in the day. I think she used to work out in New York. I can't remember exactly where it was. But she, like, across the board, across the aisle, her record as a prosecutor and a DA was lauded. But we have this situation, AC, where Donald Trump, being just the retarded, self-indulgent idiot he is, came out with the whole reflecting pool. Barack Obama had the reflecting pool looking like a sewage dump. We're gonna fix it and we're gonna have it looking nice. $14 million in no bid contracts later. It's disgusting. It's infested. It was infested with algae. Paint was coming off the bottom of the pool. And then when an Olympian, salute to VK Bay, when an Olympian rower by the name of what's his name? Goddamn. Damn, I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now. But when an Olympian rower who this guy's won multiple world championships for the United States of America, decided to just go and touch a piece of like the paint that was peeling off. They arrested him. They accused him. Oh, it's his fault. He's the reason you got all these lefties. They're vandalizing the pool. That's the reason this is happening. And Jeanine Pirro actually brought charges against this man. Jeanine Pirro, and listen, I think that this is one of the few times you will see a Trump sycophant show some type of integrity. Jeanine Pirro withdrew the charges from this guy and said, Judge, this is a mistake. This was a result of bad contracting work. We apologize to Mr. I can't think of it, David something. We apologize to him. This was a terrible, terrible mistake. And she owned up to it in front of the judge, and the judge tore into her behind. But she would not bring these charges. She would not continue to bring these charges against this man. Donald Trump said, what the fuck is wrong with this dumb bitch? And here's his comments on her withdrawing the charges.
Jeanine Pirro made a mistake. There was vandalism. Frankly, I think she choked because the judge was really vicious. Instead of going after the people that did it, the judge went after her and went after her department. And I guess she choked. I don't know what the hell happened. I was disappointed with Jeanine Pirro, really disappointed with Jeanine Pirro. She folded like an umbrella.
And I ain't gonna lie though, Trump, you do be killing me sometimes with the roast. But I mean, listen, for all you Trump sycophants, when are you gonna learn that debasing yourself, humiliating yourself for Donald Trump will always end like this? This man does not have a two-way street about loyalty. It is one way all time, all day. And so now we have bets on Kalshi, whether it's going to be Pete Hegseth or Jeanine Pirro who gets the boot next. But I just find it like this is the shit this dude wants to focus on. This is what he wants his Department of Justice to drill down on. Keep in mind, AC, just a couple of days ago, we had cyber attacks in different states throughout the United States where the hackers hacked into different waste facilities and they flooded the streets and different water sources and people's houses with sewage. There was sewage coming out of people's toilets in Minnesota. And he chose to blame the governor of Minnesota, whatever. That's what, I mean, he wants to focus on this bullshit with the reflecting pool over Iran and what they're doing. I mean, I just don't know, man. Like, what are they gonna learn, bro? This is always gonna end with. This is always gonna be the end of what happens when you debase yourself for Donald Trump. But AC, let me get your thoughts on this before we get out of here, man. Jeanine Pirro, it's looking like she's about to get her old job back at Fox News.
Well, yeah,
just like Pam Bondi. You remember Pam Bondi did everything this dude wanted. Bondi did everything, and she still got the boot, man. Go ahead.
At the end of the day, she might get her own news show or whatever, but it's an ongoing thing. Whenever Donald Trump gets anyone with a little bit of credibility, they bend over backwards to stick their own heads up their own asses to please Donald Trump. And then when he's like, you didn't bend over far enough, or I didn't see a good enough loop there, I don't really like the lines, then he puts you in a position to whereas it can be career ending for you, or your career winds up being, I can only be hired by one or two news stations, and that's OAN or Fox. So wherever she's gonna land, she's gonna be all right when it comes down to them. As far as the level of stupidity that this woman keeps displaying, the crazy part is, lady, if you had any respect as far as being a prosecutor, number one, you wouldn't have tried to prosecute the ham sandwich thrower. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't have tried to prosecute this guy and then been so definitive. Well, we have definitive proof and video of him damaging the reflecting pool. So if you had all of this definitive evidence, as you claimed you did, you don't drop the case. So one of two things happen. Either the investigators, lied about the evidence. You never really reviewed it. You took their word and then you spoke with high levels of hyperbole because this is what the boss wanted you to do. And then you found out that once you did your prosecutorial work, your due diligence into the case, you started reading it and said, oh shit, I just fucked my career up because I brought a case that the evidence was definitely altered. They left out so many key things. And I brought this so I could actually be disbarred. Whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know, because the bar didn't disbar Pam Bondi. The bar didn't bar the lady insurance lawyer who tried to prosecute a former.
Well, they opened an investigation into Lindsey Halligan, that insurance lawyer. So,
but
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's the point for me. Back in the day, when certain lawyers that got caught with improprieties and stuff like that, you were just disbarred. That was it. We'll open the hearing, but once the hearing is open, that's pretty much the fact that you're gonna be disbarred. And I can remember, in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, to where you had all of these reoccurring cases of a guy losing his law license here in this state and then went to this state and then tried to practice law, and then once he got arrested for it, he was just completely disbarred and stuff like that. You would think the Bar Association would learn, okay, we're just not gonna we're just not gonna just take away your law license to practice in this particular state. We're just gonna outright disbar you, because if we're gonna go with legal ethics and a legal ethic committee, then we're not doing our job. And that's been the biggest complaint between a lot of people in talking about the bar and all of these weird lawyers. That's been going on for at least the last 3 decades, that the bar is so slow to move to disbar a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's going on? What's going on over there? If these people are doing criminal activities, then disbar them. If they're not representing the blind oath that justice is blind and it's dealt with equally and put on the scale, then I don't really know what's going on, and it doesn't leave that part of the legal system. It doesn't leave a strong taste in anybody's mouth. You know what I'm saying? And this is why probably most Americans have real life issues when it comes down to lawyers. Like, can I trust you? Like, who are you? And that's going to be the biggest part moving forward after this administration. It's fixing our legal system. Now, certain things you talked about, that should be X, Y, and Z. At the end of the day, man, our legal system is the reason why Donald Trump is here right now. Because the legal system should automatically have things that, okay, regardless of a criminal referral, you did this thing. We have you on videotape. You can no longer run for president based on what's already there. Oh, it's not a matter of ethics, and then we could ponder over it and hindsight it and all of this other kind of stuff and have, legal debates about it at the Supreme Court. No, the language is clear. Enforce the fucking law. The language is clear. ICE should not be out here. Where are all you lawyers at? Fuck what the politicians say. The law is the law. The law
I mean,
says if you are here, then you have rights. Doesn't mean
but that's one of the problems though, AC, because it's like you've had so many, like you've had thousands of DOJ lawyers resign because they would not. I remember the Eric Adams situation where Trump was tossing, the corruption case against him. And one of the lawyers wrote down, it's one of the most powerful lines I've ever seen. And I'll tell anybody about it. He said, Donald Trump eventually will find a fool and a coward who will take away these charges, but I will not be one of those. And that's the situation that we're in. And for once, Jeanine Pirro decided she did not want to be a fool and a coward, and she's getting the boot for it. And it makes me sad and concerned that we have the fact that we have a dude in Todd Blanche who would use, literally, you read about the slush fund case and the judge's words on it. They committed a fraud against the court. They took advantage of the presumption of regularity, and they take advantage of it everywhere across the country, not just in that slush fund situation. And what's going to happen now is the judiciary, at least the ones not like Emile Bove, who are Trump slaves, are going to have to now treat anything the government brings before them with way more scrutiny. I remember, AC, there was a case up in I think it was up in New York, where an illegal immigrant from the Dominican Republic who was wanted in the Dominican Republic for like rape and murder got released by a judge. And the real reason why it got released, that person got released by a judge, was because the DOJ for Trump didn't do their job and bring that information that individual had these type of charges in a foreign country. Then that same individual and the DOJ went on Twitter and said, see, activist judges, they're releasing murderers and rapists on the streets. And then that same prosecutor had to go face the judge and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry, judge. No, this is a mistake. And the judge said, I should send your fucking ass to jail and fine you $15,000. Who the fuck are you playing with? That's the type of heavy-handedness we might be having to see from the judiciary now, with these absolute goofballs.
Yeah, and that's the part that, for me, I'm just like, okay, if we're looking at situations where really, really bad people should be locked up, and they're not being locked up, they're not being prosecuted, nothing is being happening, and we get it right now. At least I'm a person who gets to say, okay, the people who are usually, pushing for this type of stuff, that are going for this type of stuff, are actually under attack right now because they're in Congress and they're being labeled as the establishment. So once you get rid of all the people who really, really want to go after, who have the legal ability, they've gone to law school, they've gone to some of the best law schools. It's just that they understand how government works. And here's the crazy part for me. Government doesn't always work for me. I understand that. Sometimes government is a balance. There's so many different economic levels and different factions of how government needs to deal with all people. Government needs to deal with wealthy people. Government needs to deal with billionaires. Government needs to deal with the poorest people, middle class people, those people who are in between, billionaires and millionaires and the middle class. All of these different financial groups need to be dealt with. We have health issues, we have legal issues, we have housing issues, we have food issues, farming issues, land issues, space issues, under the water issues, under the ground issues. And government has to put all of that stuff together in a puzzle. And sometimes, you know, the little guy, the voice that doesn't have anybody to speak for it, is always the person who has to bear the grunt of some of these large government decisions. And you thought, at least many people thought, that the socialists and the democratic progressives are the ones who's speaking for those voices. But then when you find out that, okay, you did X, Y, and Z for 1 million units in one specific area, that's a city that houses 8.8 million people. What did you do that was so great? Out of 500 and some odd thousand kids, you got to deal with 2,000. What did you do that was so great? And at that rate, there is no way you're going to get to your goal of 60,000 in 4 years. It's just not going to happen. And that program that you're trying to put together, it's wasteful spending because it's optical. It's not something that's going to get something done. So where we are and where we are with government spending and how the government works, it doesn't always work for everybody. And you just have to understand that and then vote in a manner that makes it work for you. If the person doesn't have policy, then they're not going to work for you. They're working for themselves and whatever their agenda is. And it is clear
exactly
what certain agendas are. If you can't tell me your policy and defend your policy, you're working for yourself or some hidden agenda that does not benefit me. So I am not going to give you my vote. And you can win these primaries, but at the end of the day, for every primary seat that's won by not having a policy is a primary seat that will be lost. So the blue wave, I just don't have any faith in that blue wave anymore.
I still have faith. We're gonna take both chambers of Congress. I just have I'm losing faith in some of the policy platforms of these people. I'll say that, and I'm quite worried about the future. If these people don't deliver or they fail or the stuff that they advocated for is it doesn't lead to good outcomes for the American people, I'm concerned what'll happen. That being said, one thing I definitely want, whoever is the Democratic nominee in 2028, I've told it to you before, they need to run on a mandate that we are going to put not only Donald Trump, but we're going to have a commission to review of the corrupt. Personally, not even a commission, because the Democrats that come in November, in next January, they should be setting up committees to subpoena everybody, subpoena documents, get all these things on the record, so that when the candidate rolls in 2029 January, you hand all the information, all the referrals off to them and Jack Smith at the DOJ, and then they go and they get them. But I want a presidential candidate who's gonna run on that, so that we can have a mandate from the American people to lock these fucking people up and throw them in jail. Okay? And I'll go even a step further. We need to sign on to the Rome Statute. Okay, so that we can actually be held accountable to international law. He said, here's that: if we can't prosecute him in the United States, send his bitch ass to The Hague. Okay, so he could sit in prison for 30 years to life for telling troops to have no quarter, and different war crimes that he's fucking committed. And you can even throw Donald Trump in the pot with it, and Kristi Noem for her blockade of Cuba using the Coast Guard. That's what I want. I want a mandate that somebody's gonna run on locking these fucking people up. And BC says most of this is a farce, like they're playing in our faces. Pretty much, BC. Pretty much. the hope I have is that anti-establishment actually leads to people power. I'm starting to slightly lose that hope. I'm starting to slightly lose hope in that. But AC, this is a great show. This is a great show. Thank you for coming up, my brother. You know, like I said, it's a tough couple of weeks losing Mr. Michael Joseph. That was a great man. That man is an ancestor to me. I love him now. I love him wherever he is. I will always remember him. I will always keep his name alive. And like I said, man, Michael, we love you. I love you. You will never be forgotten, Michael Joseph. You are a great man to me. You are a great man to my family. You are a great man to my mother. You are a great man to the people of St. Croix, my island. You are a great man in general. And I thank God I got to know you, Mr. Michael Joseph. I thank God I got to meet you before the end.
Always good, man, when you get them two.
Great man right here. But AC,
Bravo said,
we're going to sign off. We're going to sign off, AC. And we're going to come back next week with another great episode. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Jay Gibson. Shout out to BC. BC asked, sup with Bondi, sup with Cash. Where are them files? Well, Bondi has gotten the boot. She's been fired. So she's not involved anymore. And Cash is on the way to being fired. This the cabinet of incompetency. But shout out to everybody that came through, man. My brother Jay Gibson. My my OG, BC. Vacay Bay, one of my number one supporters. Probably my number one supporter. File player. Always cooking for Republicans. I'll say you didn't go too bad. You weren't too bad this episode, File player. So shout out to you. B3 Picks, my brother, a servant of God, a servant of his Lord. I respect him and his religion. BVO Boxing, and then of course my brother Chop Cheese Tom. I appreciate everybody that came through, and of course my co-host AC. Like I said, AC, we're gonna be back next week to close us out. I am going to ring the bell salute for my brother, for my ancestor, Michael Joseph, a great man, a lion of a human being. You will be missed. You are always going to be loved, and you are always going to be remembered. I'm doing my housing development down in on the west side of the island. I'm selling 16 lots, as well as I already got my architect, as well as my contractor who's going to be building the houses. On top of the fact I'm going to be selling the land, I intend to name a street after Michael Joseph, as well as one day, should God permit it, I will build a statue of Michael Joseph. Because this was a great man, and he deserves to be remembered for all time. But I'm going to take us out on the 10-bell salute for Michael Joseph. A great man. And once again, shout out to everybody that came through. Y'all take it easy, okay?